So we've just gone ahead and done the work to create a brand new model, right? Our job model. And in this lecture, we're going to learn how to interact with those job models, create new ones, delete, edit with the admin interface. So we've kind of looked at this before, but we've never dove into it. So if we go into our project, into our urls.py, you can see we only have one URL pattern, and that's to take us to this admin page. And we don't really know what the admin page is. Well, it's time for us to learn. So let's go ahead and run our server. So we can go ahead and check this out. We're going to say manage.py, run server. Okay, and you'll notice this is awesome. Now when we run it, doesn't say we need to do any migrations. We're all up to date there. So if we go ahead and open up our browser, let's reload the home page here. You can see we get the normal thing, but if we go to the name of our website /admin, it's going to take us to this page where we have to enter in a username and password. And you might be thinking, well, what's the username and password? Well, we need to make an admin account first. So go back to your terminal here and go ahead and do Control-C to get out of that server. And we are going to create what's called a super user. And the super user is basically the person that can directly interact with the database via this admin. So the way to do this is we're going to say Python manage.py and then create super user, all big, one big word here. Okay, so go ahead and hit enter on that. And first it's going to ask you to enter in a username. So by default, it will just use the name of your computer. You can give it the name admin, although admin is a pretty typical name, and so you might want to do it more like your name, because if people are trying to attack your website and get into your admin page, you know, it's not the perfect idea that, oh, because I changed the name now I'm safe. No, you still need a really strong password, but it can help somewhat. So for me, I'm just going to do my name. I'm going to do Nick. Okay, so I make this new super user called Nick. For email address, you can go ahead and put that in if you want. I'll do it just for kicks. And if you want to put in a password, this is the important part. Make sure you do a good password. And if you're ever worried, like, oh my goodness, like what if I forget this password, whatever? Well, as long as you have access to your server, you can always reset the password for your super user or create new ones. That said, it should let you know if anyone has access to your server, they have access to do anything that they want to your code. I mean, as projects get bigger and bigger, there's some safer protocols you can put in place, but just know that, you know, that's pretty intense. But make sure you have a good password here. So because I'm just doing a demo here, I'm going to put a pretty weak sauce password. I'm going to use something like ABC123. And I'll just do my ABC123. Oh, look at that. Python's not even going to let me do that, or Django. It's too short and it must be at least 8 characters. Okay, so I'm going to do something like Django 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's try that. Django 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so now I have successfully created a super user. Before we go ahead and plug it in on the website, we've got to restart our server. So we're going to say Python manage.py run server. Okay, and once that's up, go ahead and enter in whatever username and password you just created. So for me, I'm going to say Nick and then Django 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm going to hit the login button here. And boom, check it out. We are now in the admin area. And you may be saying to yourself, well, this isn't all that exciting. Like, what is going on here? Well, basically, this is a gateway to show you what's inside of your database and to quickly make changes to things inside of your database. So for example, if you go click on users, you can see everyone who's made it a user account on your website. And here's the super user, right? Here's Nick. There's my email address, and we could enter in further details like my first name, last name, all that stuff. But what we want to see is we want to see the jobs, right? Like the jobs haven't shown up here yet. So in order to do this, we've got to go back to our project. And here inside of our jobs app, we're going to go to admin.py. And basically the purpose of this file is to tell the admin, hey, we have something that we want to show up in the admin page. Now, if you don't want something to show up because you're saying, I don't want the super user to be able to mess with that, do not add it here. But if you're comfortable doing that, go ahead and type inside of here. First, you have to import the model it is that you want to show up. So for us, we're trying to import our job. So we're going to say from .models, which means we're just referencing the models file right here. The dot says, you know, the current directory. From .models, import capital job, which is the name of our model. And once we've done that, we can say admin, which was imported up there, .site .register, and in the parentheses we're going to pass our model job, just like that. So look at this. This is so cool. Just by saving here, if we go back to the admin page and we reload, kablam! Look at that. We got jobs showing up. So the name up here, this is the name of the app. Remember, an app can have multiple models inside of it once, but it's saying in the jobs app, we have a jobs model. So you can go ahead and click on this. It's going to show you all the jobs that you have. Now we don't have any jobs, so let's go ahead and add a job just like this. And look, it's going to ask us two questions. One, what's an image that we can put inside of here, and what is a summary? So let me go ahead and pick some image that I have. Let's see, I'm going to add the portfolio sketch just for fun, but feel free to put whatever you want. I'm going to choose that portfolio sketch, and I'll just say something like my first job, exclamation point. So I'm going to go ahead and hit save here. And now by doing this, we now have one object inside of our database, and this object is a job, and here you can see it listed. It said job object 1. That's not all that great of a name, but we can go ahead and click on this, and I can see the image that is there. I can see the summary. I can change it to say, you know what, the exclamation point, I was a little too excited. I'm going to delete that and save it. And now that change has been saved inside of the database. And if I come back, it's, oh, look, you know, the exclamation point is gone. So this is what's so cool about the admin pages, is because it allows us to interact with the models inside of our database without having to actually touch the database, because that can get really tricky really quickly. So one other thing that I would like to show you is proof that these images are working. Now, if we go ahead and click on this right now, the one that says, oh, this is the file, if you click on this to go look at it, you can see the path it took us to was that /media/images/portfolio sketch. And you're thinking, well, that's pretty good, right? Because, for example, if we go to our project here, now there has all of a sudden a media file appeared. Inside of that is an images file, and there's something inside of there called portfolio sketch that looks like our image. So you might be wondering, well, why is it not showing up our image here, right? It's giving us this page not found. And the secret, or the little tip inside of here, is it's saying there's no URL that essentially points us to this location. And so we've got to go back to our site's urls.py, and we have to add a little bit of code here down at the bottom. So we're going to go ahead and do a plus, and what we want to add here, let me get to my notes, is we are going to say plus static, and then in parentheses, settings.media_URL, comma, and then we're going to say document_root is equal to settings.media_root. And before we finish up here, there's a few things that we have to import. So the first one is our settings. So we're going to say from Django.conf import settings, just like that. So this is essentially importing this settings file that we have right here, right? And remember, down at the bottom, that's where we specified the media root and the media URL. And that is what then below we're saying, hey, whenever you're adding some static files, we want to have the media URL, and we also want to have the media root. It's essentially saying this is where you should look for the information, and this is the URL path that you should use for this. And the next thing that we need to import here is some static code. So we're going to say from Django.conf, this is a long one, so get ready, conf.urls.static import static. Okay, so again, static is this whole app. If we go back to our settings.py and look at all the apps that are inside of here, there's this static files app that essentially allows us to serve up images, files, videos, whatever it is, and this allows it to sort of happen a little bit magically. So let's go ahead and save this. We're going to go back to our website and reload this page. And okay, we got to another error, so we're not exactly there yet, but we're getting closer. Now, those of you with a careful eye have noticed, and were probably screaming earlier, you spelled document mint_root. So again, you know probably by now programming is merciless when it comes to misspelling. You get it right or it is completely wrong. So let's go back to the project here. I'm going to get rid of my extra U that I had in document root. I will save this, go back and reload this page, and boom! All of a sudden, look, this image shows up. So just to really sort of hammer in one more time how this whole media URL, media root works is, for example, let's say I didn't want to go to /media anymore when I wanted to get an image. Like I wanted to go to /coolpics or something like that. What I could do is I could go back to Atom here. I'm going to go to my settings and I'm going to say, you know what, the media URL should be something like cool stuff or something sort of, you know, ridiculous like this. So we're going to go ahead and change that. We're going to go back to the website and I'm going to reload. Look at that. It says I can't get access to this image anymore. But if I put cool stuff, just like that, boom, it shows me the image. So the reason I sort of showed you the difference between here is I don't want you to think that, oh, the name in media root has to be the same thing as the media URL. No, I just kept them the same because I think it kind of makes sense to have both like that. But it's totally up to you about how you want to handle that. So I'm going to go ahead and change that back. Again, let's go back to that admin real quick. The admin is great because it can find where these files are and, you know, look at saying, hey, this is where this is, and boom, it's going to take us right there. So a lot of cool stuff kind of covered in this one. We learned all about the admin, creating super users, the images and stuff like that. But we have more when it comes to databases. And in fact, I'm going to show you how to sort of move out from this SQLite 3 database, which is sort of this little dev mini testing one, to something more powerful, which we're going to be using called Postgres.